So, I have a very subjective memory, and that is relevant to this video, I swear. Any person who collects records has that one artist that they have the most records of. Mine, I'd be surprised if you have heard of him. Most people under the age of 40 don't even know who he is. And that is Freddie Mercury. I'm kidding. I wish. Andy Williams. Now, you probably recognize this one, or at least the cover for it. And the song, "It's the most wonderful time of the year." He did that song. But I have a bunch of records of him. How many to be exact? I stopped counting after a certain point. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. I have 38 Andy Williams albums. And so, let's go through all of them. I have them organized of when I got them, and I usually remember where I got them. So let's start with the first one that I got. Honey. So background information. I kind of got into Andy Williams because of this record, The Great Songs of Christmas. When I got my record player for Christmas last year, my aunt just went to her local thrift store and picked up a bunch of Christmas records and other records, saying, "It's weird I'm doing Christmas shopping at a thrift store." And on it, it had "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year" by Andy Williams. That's my favorite Christmas song, and I realized that from listening to that record a bunch of times. And so then my mom noticed that I would listen to it a bunch, and when she was in Fargo, I don't know if you know about Fargo, you probably know it because of the movie Fargo, which, like, on the topic of that, it seems the general consensus seems it's more of a Minnesota town. I've always considered it more of a North Dakota town. Anyway, she's in Fargo, stopped at the thrift store, and got this album on vinyl. And that was like January of this year or something. Then, February, I went to see my aunt and uncle, and stopped at that same thrift store that my aunt got this record and a bunch of other records from. And I found 4 Andy Williams albums. Happy Heart, which it seems that this was his best-selling album. I looked it up. That's what it said. Also, there wasn't a sticker on here, but there wasn't a sticker for the price of the thrift store, but there was a sticker on here for something else, and it was pretty much glued. There's another Andy Williams album I have that we'll get to later that had a pretty much welded on sticker. Moon River and Other Great Movie Themes. This one's a good album. Love Theme from The Godfather, and my personal favorite album of Andy Williams, The Canadian Sunset. This one's actually pretty interesting because it wasn't like kind of a, oh, this was his most popular songs. It was Andy Williams specifically selected these songs to be on this album. That's kind of interesting. The next one, what did I knock over? Doesn't matter. The Shadow of Your Smile. I got when my mom stopped at the thrift store. She goes to a lot of thrift stores. And so, yeah. Then, when my dad and stepmom were in Kansas City, they stopped at a thrift store and found 2 Andy Williams albums. Call Me Irresponsible and Lonely Street. Lonely Street was actually my first Cadence record. because Andy Williams did mainly stuff with Columbia Records. Columbia was kind of the king of the 60s, in my opinion. Like, the main record label of the 60s, them and Capitol. Which, surprisingly, both Capitol and Columbia worked with members of Queen. I'm a big fan of Queen. Then another album I got. Well, the next album I got, I stopped at the thrift store. I mainly do thrift stores because there aren't that much like good antique stores around here. But I got this one, Andy and Company. And at that same store, I got my first Andy Williams 45. I just gotta find it in here. Yep. Alright, my first Andy Williams 45. Because most of the time 45s are just loose when you're shopping at stores, I have some holders for them. Anyway, House of Bamboo and Hawaiian Wedding Song on a 45. Now, the Hawaiian Wedding Song is on pretty much every Andy Williams album, but out of the 38 Andy Williams albums I have, the House of Bamboo is not on a single one. And someone posted on Reddit, on r/vinyl, like, what artists do you have the most records of? And I was like, Andy Williams, you probably don't know him, but I have the most of him. Someone replied, do you have the House of Bamboo? I've been looking for that one. I'm like, yep, on a 45, but not on an album. I have 30. The number has changed since I posted it. I think I said I had 36 at the time. But I was like, yeah, it's not on a single album that I have. Anyway, the next Andy Williams record I got was the Andy Williams Christmas album. Although this is not the one I got. I'll explain. I went to an antique store in my hometown and looked through the records. They had the Andy Williams Christmas album loose. And so I got it. It had the paper sleeve, but it didn't have the case. And there were a few scratches and skips in the record. And then months later, well, not months later, like a month later, I was at a garage sale and found this. And I got it. I got it for free, actually. And this one I listened to entirely. It has no skips, luckily. And so, let's think. Next, I got 3 Andy Williams records and another 45. I got Wonderful World of Andy Williams with the Williams family. You Got a Friend and Love Story. And then the 45 that I got was one of 2 songs there. It was the 2 songs on there I already have on multiple albums. The Bilbao song and How Wonderful to Know. Funnily enough, they're on a lot of albums, but funnily enough, they're both on the Canadian Sunset album. Okay, so those 3 Andy Williams records I said. But like the next day or a few days later, I got another Andy Williams album. The Sound Music, and there's another antique store in my hometown. And I don't really like them because it was my first time going there, but like they overprice a lot of their stuff. It's like this was $10 and it came with the wrong record. In one of them, it was a double LP set, but one of them had the wrong record. And online, I could get the sealed version with the correct record for less than that. With shipping, it was more than $10, but it was $7 without shipping. So yeah, But like I liked how this case felt, so I took the record from the sealed version and put it in here, and then took the records from this version and put it in the sealed version, which was it's no longer sealed. And then I gave it to a friend who also likes records, or no, more so an acquaintance. Okay. Next was my biggest Andy Williams haul ever. See all these? Got all these at the same place. Alright, let's start. Andy Williams Best, my second Cadence record. Then, Merry Christmas, Andy Williams. Kind of like the Mariah Carey Christmas album. Like Mariah Carey, Merry Christmas or something. Alright, this is the second one that had an impossible to remove sticker. I didn't get it at Goodwill, I got it at a pretty much everything store, I don't know what to call it. Like, all these records I'm showing you, the two that I just showed you, and this one and the next ones, all at the same store, but it wasn't at Goodwill. But on this one had a Goodwill sticker right here. That was welded to this. No wonder the people at the store that I got it from didn't bother to remove the sticker. Andy Williams' newest hits. Andy Williams' greatest hits. Warm and Willing. The Other Side of Me. Get Together With. Now this one, it's kind of interesting. It's got a glossy thing. And on the back, I thought it was like shrink wrap. So I started tearing it off, not realizing that it was part of it. So now that mark is there because of me. Such an idiot. Okay, this next one is pretty interesting. It's a Columbia Records Club exclusive Andy Williams record. I've seen this a few times, actually, while record shopping. Well, yeah. This one's probably the most unique. No, this isn't the most unique Andy Williams record. We'll get to that. And then Dear Heart. Then when my mom and I was shopping with my mom. When my mom and I walked up to pay, it was like $30 total for those 10 records. And the lady at the counter was like, that is the most I've ever seen. Or that is the most records I've ever seen someone get for that low of a price. Because, like, a lot of records nowadays are pretty ridiculously overpriced. Like, when I got this Queen album on vinyl, it was $30. When I got Queen's Greatest Hits #2 on vinyl a few weeks ago, actually, no, a few days ago, from Target, it was just, it rung up as $35, but it was actually $18 or 17 something. Anyway, the next time then the same day, my mom and I went to another thrift store and got 2 more Andy Williams records. Another copy of The Wonderful World of Andy Williams. As you can see, it's different, and In the Arms of Love. Then, Father's Day, I went out with my family and stopped in a small little quaint town and stopped at an antique store. Found 4 Andy Williams records there. Solitaire, which is a really good album. And Greatest Hits Volume 2. Then You Lay So Easy on My Mind. And then The Andy Williams Show. It was actually kind of funny. I was looking through the records, I was like, oh, there's not any Andy Williams records so far. Oh, there they are. I have this one, don't have this one, don't have this one, don't have this one, have this one, don't have this one. It was pretty funny. Anyway, the next part you're probably going to think of me as crazy, because I went to one of the most historic towns in the entire US. I went to one of the most historic towns in the entire US, and guess what I got? A freaking record. I went to Salem, Massachusetts, and I bought an Andy Williams record. Yeah. Like, I would have searched more for more records, because they probably had more than just that. But it's like we were in Salem, and we had to leave for our flight to get back home to Minnesota in, like, an hour. So I didn't have time to look through more records, even though I really wanted to. Although I did find another record, but that's hanging up on my wall. I actually got a few records while in Massachusetts. I got one while on I got a few while on Cape Cod. I got Michael Jackson's Thriller at an antique store on Cape Cod, and then a 16-inch record at that same store. Anyway, this is about Andy Williams. So the next record, my dad was going through his records and like, hey, you want my only Andy Williams one? So I got it. Andy Williams. Oh, Christmas with the Williams Brothers. Or Andy Williams and the Williams Brothers. Okay, this next one is pretty interesting. Or these next, so I don't know how well known St. Cloud is outside Minnesota. So if you don't know, it's a town. It's like in between. It's more in central Minnesota. It's quite north of the Twin Cities, but it's kind of on the way. But yeah, went to St. Cloud and I got 4 Andy Williams records while I was at one of the best antique stores I've ever been to. So I didn't mention the Village of St. Bernadette album was Cadence record. I don't think I mentioned Andy Williams' best being Cadence either. Forgot. Anyway, the albums I got while in St. Cloud were Danny Boy. I got it. No, this one I didn't get at the antique store. I got it at Savers, but the rest I did get at an antique store in St. Cloud. Voice crack there. So this one, this is the most unique Andy Williams record in my collection. And you want to know why? Well, you see that? It's not in English. Well, the song is. It's like my mom was like, well, I'd be surprised to know if it's in English. And I'm like, Mom, it's gonna be in English. And I know it because you don't hear songs from other countries that were made in other languages being sung in English. It's like Despacito. You don't hear that in English. You hear it in Spanish. And I was right. This is in English. The audio is. And I posted on Reddit. I was like, can anybody explain this? And I looked it up. These are also Chinese lettering. And I put on Reddit, like, anyone know about this? Can anybody explain? And someone said it was probably bought by an American soldier overseas stationed in Taiwan. And bought this while there. I don't know. But I'm going to say that that's likely. Then, at that same store, I got The Impossible Dream. That's impossible. And then, To You, Sweetheart Aloha. My most recent Cadence record album. At Antique Store, I also got a lot of other stuff, like, what else did I get? I got 2 Bee Gees albums. Did I get an Elvis? I think I got an Elvis there. Let me check. Yeah, I did. No Time to Die. Or no, Live and Let Die, Paul McCartney. Can't tell what that says. And so the next the final 2 Andy Williams albums out of my 38 are Million Seller Songs Wait, I was wrong. This isn't my most... Or the To You, Sweetheart Aloha is not my most recent Cadence record album. Instead, it's this one. This... My mom, I can't remember where she was, but she was at an antique store or thrift store or something, somewhere. And was like, hey, do you have this? And I'm like, no. So she got it. And knocked over a Lego. Then my most recent Andy Williams record. Self-titled album, I guess. It's like, I'm kind of confused about this. It says Shotlight Series Harmony Stereo, a product of Columbia Records. It is annoying though. I don't know what year this was released. It's like, even, this is Columbia Records. It's like, they're pretty inconsistent a lot of the time. It's like some of their albums will say copyright 1972 or something. It's like, look at this one. Love Theme from The Godfather. Published 1972 CBS. And then other records by the same record company don't say. And I just realized I actually forgot to mention another 45 I got. So this I got after The Village of St. Bernadette, but before Christmas with the Williams Brothers. It is a Columbia Records 45. Andy Williams mainly did his 45s with Cadence instead of Columbia, but I do not have either of these songs on any album. Help Me and The Wonderful World of the Young. So yeah, that's the artist I have the most records of. An artist that most people, even older than me, don't even know who he is. My brother said that he was born in the 80s. Like he said that he feels like he should have been born in the 80s and I should have been born in the 1800s. And he's right. But then again, my favorite artist is Queen. It's like, even though I have a bunch of Andy Williams records, his music isn't my favorite. It's just kind of peaceful music that is nice to calm down to. But it's like, I really like Queen, but it's really hard to find Queen albums. The only two ones I have are these two. I got this one at Walmart and this one at Target. I have not seen a single one while record shopping at thrift stores or antique stores, which, considering how popular Queen is, I'd have expected to. But I never have. It's like, I want to get every Queen album on vinyl, and I did the math in a previous video. Yeah, I love Queen. How did I devolve this video on Andy Williams into about Queen at the end? I don't know.